Thank you very much, Chairperson of the House of Chiefs. I do believe that I'll be allowed to speak while seated, seeing that's the structure of the microphone. Can I proceed? Thank you very much. Good afternoon, all. Good afternoon, all. Thank you very much. So, without taking much of your time, if I may just recognize the presence of the Chairperson of the House of Chiefs, His Royal Highness Chief Chikwanda, all members of the 6th House of Chiefs, Honorable Cabinet Ministers that are present here this afternoon, Minister from Lusaka Province, Madam Ngiata, Secretaries of Cabinet, Permanent Secretaries, Service Chiefs, Mayor of the City of Lusaka, Clerk of the House of Chiefs, my colleagues in government, senior government officials, members of the press, important colleagues indeed, for transmitting what we are doing today and what we do all the time, and distinguished ladies and gentlemen, of course, the diplomatic corps that we here. It is with great pleasure that I join you today on this occasion when we officially open the first meeting of the 6th House of Chiefs. I'm particularly pleased as this is my first address to the House of Chiefs following elections last year in August. This is our first engagement, official engagement with the House of Chiefs. So we're delighted to be here. I believe the first thing I would like to do, Chairperson, is to take cognizance of the loss that we've experienced as the House of Chiefs, as the nation, as we've lost quite a number of traditional leaders from 2020 to June 2022. We have lost a total of 20 chiefs. That's a number to count. Most unfortunate, and we wish to offer our sincere condolences to the immediate families of these our traditional leaders who answered God's call to be with him. And we want to express our appreciation on behalf of the people of Zambia, to express our appreciation for the leadership, the tremendous leadership individually, these chiefs, traditional leaders, and collectively that they provided to our chiefdoms across the country. May I now ask the House to stand up and observe a minute of silence in honor of our departed Royal Highnesses. Please. May their souls rest in peace. You may take your seat, please. Chairperson, let me take this opportunity to congratulate you and all your members of the House of Chiefs, this House of Chiefs, for your election to the August House. The responsibility placed on your shoulders, again individually and collectively, is onerous. Number one, the responsibility placed on your shoulders to carry out duties that you know so well is one that I believe you take serious. This role requires us to be committed to duty as servants. And most, if not all the time, sometimes there's a perception that chiefs are to be served. Actually, it's the contrary. Leaders serve the people. We who are elected into office understand, and we ought to behave like that. We who are elected, including you who are born in the traditional family lines, succession lines, when you assume that responsibility, you're servants of the people. More importantly, when you get elected to this, our August House of Chiefs, you truly servants. And so, service to people comes first. Impartiality is very important. And indeed, dignity and honor is required as the barest minimum as you uphold the decorum of this August House. So I congratulate the new membership. I congratulate you, Chair, for the roles that you've taken. Let me also pay tribute to the immediate past chairperson, His Royal Highness Senior Chief Luembe, and members of the 5th House of Chiefs for their contributions to the governance of our country. Chairperson, may I briefly address the issues around the importance of national unity. The role of traditional leadership in national governance, Chairperson, is critical. It does not only present a rare beacon of identity, but also of unity and peace in our individual chiefdoms, in our country, across the 10 provinces of our beautiful country. It is one which requires a conscious understanding, a comprehension, and truly to always be aware that you are key ingredients in the development agenda. You are at the center of the development agenda in your localities. It is for this reason that the institution of chieftainess has been held in high esteem by governments before us, and I can confirm that this new dawn government is immensely respectful of the chieftains. I am a traditionalist myself, in case some of you are not aware. I serve as a villager, as a headman. I serve 2 of you as chiefs. So, in a way, I'm a small part of you. So we have great respect for our traditional institutions. And this government will work with you to even enrich this respect for our traditional leadership across the country, without exception. I say serving 2 of you. In reality, we are serving all of you from all the corners of the country. So you can be rest assured that you have a government that is part of you, that you are part of. Chairperson, as espoused in our One Zambia, One Nation motto, we have subjects that we look after. We have different sectors of the community that reside in our chiefdoms and societies and the nation at large. So it's great responsibility indeed. Our administration, therefore, Chairperson, fully acknowledges and embraces the central role that you, our traditional highnesses, traditional leaders, Royal Highnesses, play in fostering national development and social stability in our country. I therefore wish to take this opportunity to thank all the traditional leaders for their role and noble cause of promoting peace and unity in our beautiful country. Chairperson, let me, through you, reiterate to all Zambians that insinuations of tribalism, ethnicity, should not be tolerated, should not be entertained. When we become aware of it, we must confront it, there and then. We must not encourage it, even by an iota, by a small matter, because it could grow if we allowed it to prevail in our surroundings, in our jurisdictions. Zambia was not founded on a divisive basis. No, not at all. Zambia celebrates unity, and we despise or do not celebrate disunity and anarchy. Our country was founded on the firm principle of unity and diversity. Very important. We should not tolerate any form of discrimination in our areas of jurisdiction. Chairperson, we as government, your government, are committed to ensuring that, as depicted by the membership of this House we're addressing today, and indeed our cabinet, I invite the House of Chiefs, Division Chiefs, as a team, to look at our cabinet and see if it does qualify to be called a national cabinet. We are confident that the answer to your no or your check will be yes, and that's deliberate, completely deliberate. Even in areas where we did not get members of parliament, out of the 2021 elections, we used an instrument called presidential nominations to bring in on the cabinet table members of our society, your own children, from those provinces that did not give us a single member of parliament, and their own cabinet, on the cabinet table. Deliberate, it's not by chance. All to foster national unity. We cannot just talk about national unity. We must live it. And I think you are the front liners in that space. Chairperson, we believe that every citizen should be afforded equal opportunity to freely express and participate in the affairs of this country, including those who live with you in your chiefdoms. We have so far met some of your Royal Highnesses and will continue meeting and enlisting the wisdom and support of your traditional leaders on this critical issue of unity, national unity, and indeed many other issues affecting our nation. I want to confirm, Chairperson, to this House, that this government, New Dawn government, is clear in its mind, in our minds, in our thought processes. We're clear that we came into government to serve, not to be served. We came into government to unite and not to divide. We came into government to include and not to exclude. We came into government to be equitous, to be fair, to be balanced. And we shall endeavor to live by these principles. Let me touch, Chairperson, elements around policy direction. This session, Chairperson, is very important to the New Dawn government, our government, your government, as it comes within the first year of us being in office, public office. It therefore provides us with the opportunity to share with you our policy direction for the next 5 years. as mandated to us to run this country by the people, of course, through God's will. People are just agents of God. God decides through His people. So, we want to share with you the high-level policy focal areas, and these include, first and foremost, as you know, Chairperson, and the chiefs that are here, traditional leaders that are here, we were elected on the platform of change. And the flagship of that change is to reconstruct our economy, our broken economy. I think there's no debate about it, that our economy is broken. It has been breaking up for years now, 10 more the last 7 years. How do we know? Growth declined every year from 6-7% down to 5 to 4 to 3 to 2 to 1 to 0. At the time we were going to elections, the economy had shrunk in terms of growth to 0. Numbers don't lie. They're there. How else do we know? We know it by our debt going up, which was as small as $1.5 billion only 10, 11 years ago. Now we are sitting on almost $20 billion of debt. On one hand, the economy was declining, Chairperson, I must say this emphatically, and on another, we were borrowing a lot of money, and the two were not matching. Obviously, it means the economy is not running properly. I make this point clear, Chairperson, so we can take it in our processes of work, how we can work together to rebuild this country's economy. And the opportunities took away from our people. School-going children, the sick, the old, the retired, the differently abled. So, our thrust, Chairperson, I wish to emphasize, is economic reconstruction. It's economic transformation to create jobs, but first to educate our people, and that's the policy you see around education, free education, for at least up to grade 12. Deliberate, because you can't reconstruct the economy, Chairperson, without skills. That's the way we see it. So, education, jobs, businesses, business opportunities, and you will see us rolling out policies, measures, including legal regulatory reform to support this economic growth. And that's why you see us focusing, Chairperson, on unlocking opportunities, business opportunities, companies, transactions, companies that are not somehow doing well. Our duty is to unlock them, find answers to why they are not productive. And all that is in our quest to reconstruct the economy to create opportunities for our people. And we'd like to work together with yourselves on this front. Human and social development is very important. I already talked about education, Chairperson. Environmental sustainability. With the challenge of climate change, Chairperson, and our traditional leaders, this area is given prominence. I'm sure you're aware, for the first time in the history of our country, we've created a dedicated ministry to deal with climate change, Ministry of Green Economy. And we created the first ever time for a ministry, the Ministry of Small, Medium Enterprise, so we can give opportunities to our people to enterprise, to invest small, micro, small, medium, large, to create the opportunities we talked about here. So you as traditional leaders are critical in all of these areas. Environment, you live with nature. So we expect to work together in these areas. Good governance is one of those. And I want to simply indicate elements of the good governance, Chairperson, around restoring the rule of law, bringing back order in our society, which we had lost. Again, there's no need to debate. The outside. It was daily, in the markets, people fighting, bus stops. That as a new Dawn government, we said no. Order. But to restore order in the country, restore the rule of law. Then you can look at the development agenda. As I said, violence is not something this government will tolerate. Blatant crime, criminality. Again, you live in the communities. The little that your subject has, someone takes away without asking. It's a crime. Corruption, Your Royal Highnesses, we don't want to miss this opportunity to say it. It's not a tribal issue. Corruption cannot be called a tribal issue, an ethnic issue. No. It's an individual's conduct. Corruption takes away resources from your subjects, from citizens, denies citizen children opportunity to go to school. So we hope we work together on these elements. Chairperson, returning a little bit on economic transformation. This is the bedrock of all interventions. Because if we don't perform well in the economic side, we have no chance to support the social sectors. This government, your government, is clear about it. So, we will look at sectors that have the most impact. We are already doing it on economic reconstruction. Sectors such as agriculture, tourism, Your Royal Highnesses, energy, of course mining. We've come into government at a care when mining has regained its importance. But we all know that it's a wasting asset, so we must manage our mineral resource industry properly to benefit citizens. We don't want citizens to be observers in this sector. Neither do we want our citizens to be observers in the management, exploitation of forests, especially with the climate change issues. Commerce, industry, very important to us, and many other sectors. With regard to human and social development, Chairperson, we have placed a premium on education. Hence, I repeat, the reintroduction of free education in our first ever budget. Yes, people talk about overcrowding in schools, and others allege that the police has failed free education because there's so many kids in class. No, it's the opposite. It means there were many children who were not in school before the policy of free education was introduced. That's what it means. Our job now is to buy more desks. Is the money there? Yes, Mr. Chairman. Money is there to buy desks. Now we're struggling with capacity to manufacture desks. It's a good problem to have, Chairperson. But we have also made it very clear we are not importing desks from outside Zambia. We shall get our desks made here. That's what's going on now. Orders are going on, desks are being made across the country, and I hope you see that happening in your chiefdom. The money is there. It's already sitting in the bank. Part of the CDF money is for that purpose. We envisaged this situation. What else, Chairperson? Classroom space. In the first ever budget, Chairperson, we've allocated resources to complete buildings, some of which classroom buildings and other educational related infrastructure, which were left 10 years ago by the LMD. And in the last 10 years, they were not touched. But we look at government in a different way, that new governments come to build on the projects that were left by others, as long as those projects are good and beneficial. And these projects are beneficial, so you will see completion of those or that type of infrastructure. in your local areas. Chairperson, I want to challenge this House. If you see an uncompleted school, you see an uncompleted teacher's house in your area, please inform us. Councillors are there. Even the teachers at that school who like that feedback. That's important, and I think that's practical. Our partnership starts even at those levels, between yourselves and ourselves. Chairperson, we are determined, working with you, to drive agriculture. To drive agriculture, which remains one of the key priority sectors for economic growth, and almost has a short-term impact, not short-term impact, immediate impact, almost immediate impact. 6 months, most crops, seasonal crops. So when we manage agriculture properly, we can see the impact within 6 months or so, including food on the table for our people. So it's crucial as a farmer, chairperson myself, and many of you, your attention is being given to agriculture. We know the challenges of the increase in the cost of fertilizer arising from issues beyond our control. The war in Ukraine has put pressure on the price of fertilizer across the world, not just here. We're grappling with that, working very hard to come around that challenge. Cost of fuel, which affects agriculture. The government is working around the clock. Chairperson, any ideas you have in these areas, they're welcome. Because we're a team, we're a partnership. But agriculture is core. Again, given climate change, how we use our water, how we use our land. Going forward, sustainable use of land, water in agricultural activity will be critical. You've seen the weather patterns yourselves arising from climate change. So it means we have to do more together to mitigate climate change as we produce food for our own citizens, as we produce food for the region, and indeed for the globe. Chairperson, the projection is that there will be a shortage of food in the world. And we are well placed to produce not just for ourselves and our neighbors, Congo, but also for the world. So putting in place policies that will allow us to do that. But we have to work with you, including on the land management issue. Land management issue. So that we can utilize our land now, Chairperson, in a manner that's sustainable, in a manner that will make it available for the generations to come. Responsible use of an asset like that. We also know that without irrigation, we're not doing justice to our potential in agriculture. And I'm tired of talking about potential. We want to realize that potential. As the Royal Highnesses know, if we don't irrigate, most of our water in this country ends up into the Indian Ocean. And it's gone. It's no longer ours. So government departments are working around these issues to increase irrigation, micro-irrigation. Small, medium, large. We need all of those. Working with the private sector, the farmers, your own subjects, your subjects. And those who provide technology and capital. Our administration, Mr. Chairperson, acknowledges with much appreciation Your Royal Highness' support to this sector by availing land, as I said, for farm loans. We thank you for that. Those who have done that as traditional leaders, we are so grateful. And one issue we have noticed, Chairperson, is that some farm blocks were created a long time ago, 20, 25 years ago, but nothing is happening. We should work together to change that. that constitutes idle assets. Your government wants to work with you to bring idle assets into productive use, for the reasons we've explained already. So, Chairperson, your government has come up with a program to walk away over time to narrow agriculture to FISIP alone is not doing justice to agriculture. So you will see we'll be rolling out what we call a fully fledged agricultural support program. Not just fertilizer. Fertilizer is important. Not just seed. Seed is important. But everything in there. Seed, fertilizer, soil utilization, irrigation, genetic material is important. I've talked about seed already. Post-harvest losses, storage, distribution, processing. We don't want to keep selling our raw materials, agricultural produce. We want to process, we want to value add. Financing. Markets. I'm sure the chairperson is aware that this person speaking here, even when in opposition, declared that once we get elected into office, we will be the chief marketing officers for Zambia. And we're just doing that to secure markets, markets that will make it viable for farmers to continue producing, that will make it viable for consumers of many people to afford it, to reward everybody in the chain, but yet making it affordable. Sounds in contradiction, is not. Those are the ethos of sustainable business. The chairperson will include in there fisheries, livestock, it's part of agriculture, and pull apart these elements. Most of our people cannot afford tractors. How do they plant? How do they grow food? Animal drug power. So all of us will be supported. Small animals, goats, sheep, and larger ones. Fisheries is very important, Chairperson, as each one of our regions is a lot different in terms of resources: water, land, grass. Chairperson, as a rancher, I must say that when I travel around this country, I see so much wastage. People are crying of hunger, but there's water, there's grass, and good grass. Chairperson, livestock doesn't eat any type of grass. There's some grass they eat. But you go around this country, there's so much grass which is edible to livestock. The people next door, a village next door, they have no food. Next thing you see they do, they get a matchstick in the dry season and put fire on the grass. I said, oh, they're burning watchers here. They're burning cash here. So I hope that in working together, we'll also begin to bring control on the management of issues such as bush fires. And then we need to work with the council, bylaws. We're destroying value. We're destroying our soils. But can we do it without chiefs? No. It can only happen with yourselves during COVID. Managing our rivers properly, water bodies properly, disease factor, controlling diseases, very important. Chairperson, it is important that we work as a team on these aspects. Mining, your Royal Highnesses, your government, New Dawn government is not oblivious of the great mineral deposits that occupy our land, including where your palaces are built. Actually, maybe sitting every day you sleep over copper. If you are from Copper Belt Road, most likely wherever your house is, there's copper underneath it. It could be copper, it could be nickel. Now we know that our country has gold endowments across different provinces, popping up everywhere, creating instability in some cases. We do not want our mineral resources to create extremists. I don't want to mention the name. Next door neighbor country, government officers can't go to certain parts of their own country where the mineral resources are prevalent. Why? Violence, guns. We do not want that situation. We want the involvement of Zambians in the mineral resource endowment. We don't want them to be observers. We're working out measures. That's why we've shut the cadastre, because there was a lot of mess there. One person will be given 50 licenses. One person. It was like people were preparing to leave office. Before they left office, they awarded themselves licenses, 50, one person. And the chiefs are not even aware. Some licenses were being given to companies that don't exist. They write XYZ Limited. You go to registrar of companies, there's no company like that, but they're a mining license. This is disorder. Working with you, we want to see order in the mining sector. We want to see Zambians being shareholders. We'll have a meeting of yourselves. I don't want to illustrate this in today's delivery, but we'll meet with yourselves. Chairman has indicated, and we've agreed. We desire to meet. We can discuss in a smaller group how we can address these issues. Going forward, it will be unacceptable that there's a mine in a particular area and the local people do not benefit. It will be unacceptable. But we have found a situation that we must manage without sending a negative message. But we have an opportunity to negotiate things properly. We have an opportunity that in the new licenses, we can structure things properly. And we expect, Chairperson, the support of the chiefs. As you know, minerals go hand in glove with land. If you give others land, 10,000 hectares, you don't know what's sitting there. So let us work together in this area so that we can improve benefits that accrue to citizens from the resource endowment. It's no different in Mukula. The issues in Mukula are no different at all, Chairperson, from what we're saying now around mining. Our people are cutting trees indiscriminately. Mukula, one container, a year they get paid 40,000 kwacha per container, maybe, and yet that container is worth $50,000. Somebody cuts more and more trees because they're paid very little. They continue cutting trees. Then we have a problem with climate change. We could earn more money even from carbon credits if we worked in a clever way. But I've noticed the pressure to allow Mukula to be cut, the pressure to allow illegal mining, sometimes behind the scenes comes from traditional leaders. Let's not be short-termists. Let's look at development in the long run. Immediate benefits, but also in the long run. And for the children, your own children, some of whom will be the next chiefs in 30 years. And they will find that there's nothing there. All is gone and nothing to show for it. At the same time, Chairperson, we want to manage and exploit these resources. We don't want to sit on them and we get nobody and we go hungry. We want to marry the two. I'm sure I'm talking to you, chiefs, and they understand what I'm saying. So let's work together, Your Royal Highnesses. Let's unlock the potential of mining. You've heard of something called electric vehicles, I'm sure. We don't want to just sell our Koba, our Kobrot, our Nico, our manganese. My traditional leaders on the Koba belt is sitting on wealth, manganese. Serengeti. With a move away from carbon energy in driving motor vehicles and any motorized equipment to green energy, the move to electric vehicles and batteries. There are 5 key minerals in there: copper, cobalt, nickel, manganese, lithium. On this continent of Africa, between Congo and Zambia, your own country, your own chiefdoms, we are sitting close to, for cobalt and others, close to 70%. I'm sure you didn't know that. Across the continent. The question is that how do we now manage these resources to benefit your subjects, our citizens? And this has to be done together with those who provide capital and technology. So we have to work smart together. So the old ways of just cutting and giving, you may be giving away something without knowing what you're giving away. How do we want to resolve that issue? Exploration. Your government chairperson will be working on exploration expeditiously, so we know what we're sitting on, and then we can manage it properly for the benefit of our population. It's not to take away any rights that the chiefs have. We're not different from you. You're not different from us. We're one. We're together. We're engaging mining companies as well, those that are already in existence, to unlock the potential that we're sitting on. And I'm sure you've seen, some of you've seen the transactions that we've been able to unlock that were not moving for the last 10 years. And we'll continue doing that, working with you. Chairperson, I'm convinced, we are convinced beyond reasonable doubt that you are aware of the increased illegalities around mining, around Ukula, around Chief, around all of these issues. Let us work together. Remember, we said economic reconstruction is our focus, but also governance. In governance, we say restoring the rule of law. Disorderliness is not what this government would like to do. I don't think there's a chief who wants disorder leadership. So we're together. Let us hold hands. I talked earlier about small, medium enterprises. Chairperson, Royal Highnesses, we dedicated a ministry to look at how we support our small businesses. Some reside in Egypt, and we need to work together in this area. No business is too small for this government. Micro, small, medium enterprise play a critical role in actualizing our aspiration of economic reconstruction and growth. That is why we have put a minister dedicated to this, first time in the history of our country, independent country at least, to coordinate this exercise. Artisanal mining is part of it. It's put our people, our villagers, to have licenses for artisanal mining, but they shouldn't mine to kill themselves. You are aware that some of the people are dying. So we need a Ministry of Mines that will support these artisanal miners who are legalized, not illegal, so they can mine safely. They can also sell their produce at a fair price. At the moment, I think a number of them are being shortchanged. These are the issues we'd like to work with you on. More can be said, Chairperson. It's in my report. It's in our statement. You'll have a look at it. Energy, very important. Very important. Without energy, we cannot exploit our resources. Mind you, now we are changing the narrative. We don't want to hear Chairperson House of Chiefs, any one of us, citizens, including yourselves, complaining that we're a landlocked country. No. Those complaints are gone. We're a land-linked country. It's a special position that we occupy. With 8 plus 1 name, over 300 million people surrounding us, close to 400 million people. Great markets. Let's look at Congo differently. See what we can sell it today. Of course, get paid, Chairperson. When we sell, we want to get paid. We're working on that. Energy is crucial, not just for your palaces, yes, for your palaces. Chairperson, we talked in the office there that we have a lot to chat about with yourselves. We are conscious that some of you have palaces held by government, some of you don't have. Your government will deal with that inequity. Remember, we said we came to be equitous, to be fair, to treat each citizen fairly, to treat each chief fairly. We'll discuss those details in a small meeting. I'm sure you'll be happy once we've had that discussion. And beyond you here, the 50 or so of you, how many are you, Jeff? The 50 of you, once we're done, we want to quickly get to the rest of your other chiefs so that they don't feel left out, they don't feel misrepresented. We have a lot to do with you. This government is your government, this new Dawn government has a lot to do with you to better the lives of our people. Tourism is great businesses. I know some of you are complaining about hunting licenses. Yes, we are aware. But we don't, that's a natural resource. Exploiting animals God gave us. We don't manage it properly, they'll be extinct. If you have eland captured, even through legal means, we have looked at how many eland we have in your area, and they are taken into a ranch in another country. If you're not careful, that little $20,000 the concessionaires give you every year only, after 30 years there will be no eland. And now you have to go to another country for your grandchildren to go and learn what an eland is. That's destructive exploitation. That's what we're dealing with now. Chairperson, we've taken note of the statements issued by chiefs around the hunting license. The idea is to get you and your communities engaged in a manner that the financial benefits out of there will accrue to you and your communities in a fair way. Not like to give you a little just for your time to taste. No, my leaders, is to structure those relationships in a way that your communities can see real benefits. But more importantly, exploit those resources sustainably. As I said, 10 years, 20 years from now, to go on to see an elephant, you may have to go into Europe. So you lose the revenue. You enjoy a little now, after a while it's gone. We can do better, working together. Please, Chairperson, Royal Highnesses, no one is doing anything to work against you. It's in national interest. It's in your interest. sustainable exploitation, but also making sure value is shared accordingly. Not crumbs, no. I hope I'm talking to someone. Someone is listening who is affected. It's the interest of you and your son or daughter who will be the next chief, and their children and their children. We need to manage our wildlife, our forests, our soils, our waters together. That's how critical the chiefs are. So tourism, critical. If we deplete these animals, these trees, vegetation, what will tourists come and see? Nothing. Chairperson, Your Royal Highnesses, you are custodians of our nature, God-given nature. And we recognize this. That's why we want to work with you very closely. This government will not abuse chiefs. Mark what I'm saying. This government will not abuse chiefs, not interfere in your selection process. I've seen, Chair, in your agenda, one of your agenda items, I like reading a lot, is for the chiefdoms, the chief royal to submit the family trees. Is that not true? That's on your agenda. I was checking out on your agenda of business. Submit that. There's less conflicts in successions. And there's some commercial economic things we want to do with yourselves to lessen the fights that arise once we've lost our leaders like this 20. We suspect there are things we know that cause huge fights. But one, you have to deal with yourselves, succession or family. We think we have others. I won't say much because it will preempt our meeting. But we are happy to support yourselves in ameliorating, in reducing those conflicts on aspects that government can help with. On the aspect of who becomes the next chief, only you can resolve it. And the royal families. Some are paternal, some are maternal. As I sit here, Chairperson, part of my family is paternal, part of my family is maternal. So I can't say we'll take a paternal way, no, because some are maternal, and only you know better. But within the maternal, too many issues. Within the paternal, even more issues. So you have a government now that is partnering with you. I'm not saying others didn't partner, but made a special partnership. Let's work together. The agenda for decentralization of resources, Your Royal Highnesses, Chairperson, is cardinal to this government, your government, our government, to take resources away from the center, Lusaka, as much as possible into the local areas where you are, to decide on the priorities. In the past, you decide that priorities, but the funding doesn't come. Now, you decide on the priorities, and the money is already in the bank. As you sit here, CDF is in the bank. And that's why we've said the CDF chairperson is not only going to be superintended by elected officials, councillors, chairperson, mayors, MPs. No. Your representatives must sit on the CDF committee. And churches, leading churches in those areas. So that truly the project will reflect community priorities. Special situation. The amounts are phenomenal. Over 1,000% increase. CDF was 1.6 million, is now 25.7 million per constituency per year. This is transformation. When we use it properly, this is transformation. and would like to partner with your daily chairperson. Structure things together. There are India complaints, slowness, chairperson, we're working on that to unlock the rigidity. Some are legal. We found that the laws were entangled in certain ways that gave too much power to the center. We are unlocking those. The sitting of Parliament, hopefully local government ministers again, that he will amend the CDF law to allow for the intentions of the CDF to be actualized. Your Royal Highnesses, let's work together again. This government is now here to talk with you, not to talk over you. And equally, we would like you to talk to us and not to talk over us. Meaning, when there's a challenge, they sit together, even at a local unit, district council level unit. This is why, Chairperson, we changed you from working with the Ministry of Traditional Affairs. It was empty. It was just sitting, hanging there. You work closely with the local authorities every day. The councils, the wards, constituencies, the districts, those are the ones who work with provinces. And it makes sense. I know some of you complained about that issue. I understand where you're coming from. But really, in real life, when you have issues, you raise those issues with the councils. Councils under local government. So the department still existed. I want to repeat, CDF was deliberately orchestrated to change the scenario of resource application. Away from the center, dictating, the center was dictating. Now we want the local people to dictate. Even you have to argue it out with your local communities, your subjects. Even you won't dictate. You have to work with the people. But the beauty is that you'll be involved. And then the resource envelope will be there to support you. Any changes you want made, push them on in the CDF committee. Raise them. And local government, please, let's have a real-time relationship, real-time meaning, almost working together all the time. So the negatives that arise, it's a new policy. We expect that there will be some challenges. That shouldn't frustrate us. So real time, quickly, talking to each other, not over each other. Suggestions coming through. Those that require regulatory change, we'll change the regulation. Chairperson, I want to commit you. Anything that stands in the way of improving the utilization of CDF, the benefits to the local people, and installing that, this government will change it. You have heard me. This government will change it, working with you. That's a beauty. Minister of Local Government is aware of it. So let's have ideas flowing from one another. Chairperson, we want to see teamwork as opposed to, oh, this government, this HH government. And the government said, no, these chiefs. We don't like what they're doing. No, these are our chiefs. Call a meeting. What is it that you don't like the chiefs are doing? Chiefs, what is it that you don't like your government is doing? We select those issues, we debate, we consensus, we move on. Those that require regulatory changes, we change. Those that require legal changes, we change. Other than the Constitution. Constitution has a longer process. So those that limit us because of the Constitution, who are itemizing, who are isolated, these we'll have to deal with at the constitutional amendment level. But there's a lot we can do away from the constitutional amendment. Chairperson, I talked about the fight against corruption. Corruption has damaged this country, Your Royal Highnesses. Earlier I told you that there's no debate about the fact that the economy collapsed. Because it went down, the numbers are there. 2011, this country was growing at 7%. Okay. As at August 12, it was 0. No debate. It doesn't matter who was in government. The facts are that there was failure to deliver on the economy. And the consequences are there. And the debt is there. So, but your government is committed to stopping the reasons that cause this decline in the economy on one hand and increase on the debt on another. In our ordinary training, Your Royal Highnesses, life is always a double entry. Left eye, right eye. When we borrowed more as a government, we should have had assets also growing. But it's the opposite. We borrowed more, there was no compensating assets. Where's the money? Gone. That's how we know that the money is gone. That's how we know when you have money allocated to build FTJ University in Mansa and it's not there and $33 million is gone, then you know the money was taken away. Now, is there a tribalism in that? FTJ University? No. What is that? Corruption. Theft. Consequences of that? Money is gone, no university. That's what I said. We borrow, because we borrowed that money, man. We borrowed that money. And then the asset which is supposed to be FTJ University is not there. Now, Masiros will say, this coming. He said, what is it? Money was taken. Should we debate that? Should we go in the streets to demonstrate? No. Our subjects are being persecuted. Who are suffered? It's the children of Wakola who should have been in that university learning. We should cry for those children. We shouldn't cry for people who took the money. We shouldn't defend the people who took the money. They deprived our children, our own Zambian children, of opportunity to go to a university in Mansa from Chilenge, so that over the weekend you can travel home from university, from Wednesday, from Puta, Jane, from Mata, from Kawamba. Chairperson, I'm driving this point hard because I do read, I see the comments coming out when your government is trying to fight corruption. You can't grow a country's economy when money is being taken away like that. You can't. No matter how smart you are. So let's work together here. Let's teach our children and ourselves to respect public property, assets that don't belong to us. They say charity begins at home. Which home? In your chiefdom. Which charity? That don't take what is not yours. I can go on and on. The story is the same. Lusaka and Dollar Road. Chairperson. Lusaka and Dollar Road. $35 million was borrowed, taken away. There's nothing on this road. You've seen it. For the chief from Muilanga, the state of that road, as you are entering Dollar, it's terrible. But $35 million was paid. Nothing was done. How does that benefit anyone? I'm sorry, I'm emphasizing this point. We need to get it clear and agree that this is wrong, this is right. That which is wrong, we should not support. And we should not hide behind the ethnicity. No. Our fight against corruption, Chairperson, your fight against corruption is not selective. Recognizes no language, recognizes no other factor. It's simply, let's restore what is public for the public. We need to work together in this area. Imagine if we did not waste 19 billion less 1.5, let's say 2. If we did not waste $17 billion, imagine what we would be doing with that money. All the chiefs' palaces would have been completed. All the water rectification would have been completed. All the schools and desks would have been there. Just imagine for a moment, $17 billion. I can remind you, Chair, part of the Euro bond that was borrowed, $750 million, was to rehabilitate Zambia Railways. What rehabilitation have you seen in Zambia Railways? What is it? We to Muga said, Kuliji. Orokado. Kuliji. Mr. Chairman, I'm saying, there is nothing, even a small. I'm interpreting to Muga. Thank you for our members. So let's work together. I talked already about green economy. I don't want to waste time. We'll be working together there. Policy, environment, forestry issues. Charcoal burning is a big issue, Mr. Chairman. Let's find alternatives for our people. I won't waste your time. Chiefs' welfare, I touched on it. Succession. Let us measure on those issues. I think it's important that we bring chiefs to an equitable level. There was a lot of different treatment for chiefs. Amongst yourselves here, you were treated differently. You know that, isn't it? Some were given vehicles, others were punished. No, this government will give all of you. Whoever is entitled, you will get. Some had palaces built, others no. No, you'll be treated fairly. Others were paid allowances, others were punished. If you greeted HH when he visited the palace and you were on camera, your allowance was taken away. In this government, greet anybody you want. Your allowance must be paid. That's the dignity we want to bring to the House of Chiefs and our traditional leaders. The question will be, how do we manage admin together? Because there are issues there. How do we manage them so that they remain the team members? I think we have to work together. Let me just touch, Chairperson, Your Royal Highnesses. With regard to chiefdom boundaries, let me reiterate, say it again, if that has not been heard before. 1958, and correct me if I'm wrong, I may say something that you don't agree with. We are amenable to correction. 1958 chiefdom boundary maps remain the only documents in use in the issues around boundaries, chiefdom boundaries. We're not going to change these boundaries. I'm sorry. If we do, we'll create conflicts. We're not changing these boundaries. My Royal Highnesses, Your Royal Highnesses. If we do, we are causing anarchy. We'll be the problem generators. These boundaries shall remain unchanged as they are independent of the district and other administrative boundaries. The issues that arise, Chairperson, when there's a new district created, it does not change. A new district does not change the chiefdom boundary. It doesn't. But we have seen disagreements arising, no, there's a new district. This district is in my chiefdom. Or, now that 50% of your chiefdom is a new district, so you must lose that part of your chiefdom. No. Those are administrative changes for management. I think we in government must also not create problems. Minister of Local Government, for the chiefdoms. Let's not sow seeds of disagreements by, in an unorganized way, in an unmethodical way. This government is going to be methodical. Sometimes you feel frustrated, you will love us after a couple of years. Doing things in an organized manner is the only correct way of managing public affairs. So, Mr. Chairperson, sir, 1958 chiefdom boundary maps remain the only official documents in use for the determination of chiefdom boundaries. So we shouldn't be fighting over boundaries. And sometimes we fight for boundaries for wrong reasons. Because an applicant for land has applied for land which extends beyond your boundary, you now want to claim it. Because the application has been made in your palace, you must claim the next door piece of land to satisfy that applicant. No, the applicant can apply to 2 chiefdoms because the geography of the land remains the same. It's the only immovable asset in this context. Not a building. I know there are many other assets, but land is one that you cannot change. Yes, the river banks may eat a little bit of land, but it means that river is sitting on a particular geographical area, even when it expands a bit or changes course. So, Chairperson, we should deal with this issue and not generate fights around boundaries. We have no time for fights. That's why you've seen me going around. I've just come from Kenya, trying to help out underground, the brewing war in Congo DR, and what? We can't afford war in the region. Our time is for development. If we can go to Kenya and if I can talking to presidents around to say, let's not go the route of war. How is it that we should not be talking to each other at home around change of boundaries? So, Chair, when we meet, let us discuss a little bit around this issue. And your government will do everything to support conflict resolution, not fueling conflicts. This government is not in the business of fueling conflicts, but resolving conflicts with you, with your leadership in the areas. And also develop the habit of talking to each other. How can 2 neighboring chiefs don't talk to each other? What are you saying to your subjects? You are encouraging them to pick sticks against each other. But remember, part of the new Dawn government's agenda is to restore the rule of law and order. No need to fight. Let's talk to each other. Chairperson, I wish to close my submission by urging all members of the House of Chiefs to fully participate in the debates of the House and make progressive submissions to government, your government. We are your servants. On matters of customary and social economic welfare or well-being of your subject. The center of what brings us together is the people, your people. We, your people. That's the center. How do we better the lives of our subjects? How do we utilize the resources in our chiefdoms to better the lives of our subjects? I can assure you, I know it myself as a village head. If you are the only guy with cattle in the village and there's a village headman like me, you are in big trouble. It is good to encourage others to also have cattle, even for bad reasons, such as if you're the only guy with cattle in the area, when thieves come, it's only you who gets cattle stolen. And you find your neighbors are not interested in the discussion of how to control cattle ranching. So now I'm making a habit that I support my neighbors, my village mates, so they can have cattle, so we can have a shared interest in protecting our assets from thieves. Good, isn't it? Mr. Chair, I am saying the chiefs, local government, central government must work together around how we better the lives of our people. And the people includes human beings called chiefs, traditional leaders. So this is how we should look at issues. Chairperson, we have a common goal to make Zambia better. Chairperson, we have no different stock of people, this new dawn government. And the government before, and those that will come in future, are serving. It's the same people that are your subjects. So we don't compete. In my days in opposition, in some chiefdoms, I was not even allowed to visit because I was seeking public office. How can you refuse your subject from visiting you? Maybe it's a good idea to help improve the livelihoods of the subjects who are the core. That's why, Chair, we want to restore the dignity of chiefdoms and chiefs by upgrading and supporting you to be the fathers and the mothers of all the subjects, all the political parties. Some of us went through very difficult times to sit where I'm sitting. And we saw a lot, and we like to work together to make life better for those who come after us, and not to experience what we experienced. To have an area called a no-go area for a citizen who does not need a passport to visit. I think the chief should have risen above that and say, no, let the church come. He's my subject. He's my son. But the good news is that we've drawn the line. Past is past. We want to work on the future. A better future for all our people. Chairperson, I thank you for your kind attention. God bless you.
Shall we stand as the President necessary?